I was watching a video from one of the 300-hour teachers, one of the teachers that are going through my training, and she was giving a Dharma talk. A Dharma talk is what we have here in the beginning, just a discussion that gives us our mind a bit of a focus, a direction towards how we could implement the teachings of yoga into the physical yoga practice, so that our physical practice is more meaningful. It's more inspired by the deeper layers of our being. And she was talking about sukha and dukkha, and it reminded me that these are really imperative teachings to the teaching of Ananda, which we had begun talking about last class. And Ananda is the experience. I gotta stop saying experience because it's not an experience, it's the foundation of our being, which is the yogis call bliss. The reason why experience doesn't work, because experience is in the mind. The mind is what experience is. But the way that yogis explain it, the tantrikas explain it, is that the core of our being is this blissful awareness. And because it is at the core of our being, it permeates everything. So it is also within the mind, it is also within the body. However, the body and the mind are subject to the ever-present change of outside forces. And I don't want to get too deep into nature and everything, but I do want to talk about sukha and dukkha as the cycle or cyclical nature of being a human. Is that we've got this ordinary happiness, sukha or sweetness, and then we have this the experience of everything else, let's say the resistances, the challenges, the pain, the emotional suffering, the darkness, the hardships of life of being a human, called dukkha. So we have sukha and dukkha, and these two energies are recursive, so they're constantly playing out in our daily life. I'm happy because all my needs are met. I'm not happy because my needs aren't met. And that's generally what is meant by sukha and dukkha, that ordinary happiness requires that our needs are met, that if we're hungry, then we can eat, and then we're happy because we're eating. If we're lonely, then we find somebody that fills that temporary void, or maybe long-term, whatever, then we're no longer lonely, so that need is met. There's a lot of emotions that have, all the emotions have polarity. So when that emotion that we would put on the dukkha side, the negative or unwanted side, is now fulfilled by an outside circumstance, by the externals of life, then sukha can happen, which is that sweetness of like, oh wow, this is such a joy to, with a lowercase j, because capital J is also considered part of bliss, but lowercase j, the joy of just being here with all my needs met, is sukha, it's sweet. Okay, and yoga is not saying that, some yogis might be saying this, but Tantra is not necessarily saying that this cycle is a bad thing. They're just saying, hey, this is part of the nature of being a human. So first of all, recognize it. And you're not going to change negative emotions, sadness, anger. And if you try to just change those things, you probably are going to be mostly drained in your energy rather than feeling fulfilled. And so instead, go below the surface of the rise and falls, the highs and the lows, and tap into that deep underlying experience of bliss, which has nothing to do with whether our needs are met on the external. Our circumstances on the outside don't have to be just right for us to recognize that it is a joy to live life with a capital J, that it is an honor, or it is a privilege to be alive as a human and to experience the highs and lows. Ultimately, the teachings of yoga are to try to get us to recognize that suffering, that we are always trying, usually as humans, trying to control what is not in our control, everything on the outside. And the yogis are trying to get us to recognize what we can control. You can't control whether your needs are always met on the outside, but what you can control is, are your needs met on the inside? So the needs that we have on the inside are attention, awareness, to be awake, to be present, to be fully alive by being connected to the ever-present flow of energy that is within us that we call consciousness, or chit ananda, in perfect harmony. This idea of awareness, chit, or consciousness, interchangeable words there. When we say chit, we can mean awareness or consciousness. And then ananda, bliss. And what this teaching is to tell us is to try to recognize that in ordinary unhappiness or discomfort, when our needs are not met, we can still be in tune with underlying all things is the recognition that, well, I'm ultimately happy, not happy, that's ordinary. It's ultimately a joy with a capital J to be alive and to experience these challenges that I'm facing. It's ultimately, at the core of my being, it's an honor to be able to face the hardships of humanity, because that means I am a human, right? It's just tying it back to the bigger picture and giving us a greater perspective, recognizing that the beauty of life does include sadness, pain, hardship. And it would be nice if we could get rid of those things, but that's not the way the world is. It's not the way that life is. And it's not, that's one of those things that we don't have a choice about. We don't have a choice about the pain and sadness of losing somebody. This is part of nature. Everything in nature is born, and everything in nature dies. And it's not to be insensitive or trying to squash the emotion of pain, but actually trying to recognize that the pain is part of the process of being alive. And nothing really changes other than the fact that we don't try to place effort in controlling what is out of our control. And instead we take that energy and that effort and we place it towards what we can control, our actions, and the way that we treat ourselves and the way that we treat others, the way that we frame or our mindset on how we see the view of the world, our perspective on life. These things we have control of. All the internal experiences, or I keep using that word, I apologize. All the internal, let's just say practices, the practices that allow us to go inward, those are within our control. And it's something that, I think as adults, it needs to be learned. It's not something that we just get, because as a child, you're born into this world, and what happens for all of us, we're born, we have some sort of urge, knowing that we need to be fed, or we have to go to the bathroom or whatever, and we learn that when we cry out, that outside forces, outside people, things outside of us will meet our needs. And so as we grow through our teenage years, some of us begin to learn that we meet our own needs, that our actions are what allow us to have our needs met. But more often than not, or most often, all of us are still unconsciously, or at least not in our, the forefront of our mind, realizing that we're still looking for external validation or gratification or whatever. We're looking for things outside of ourselves to make us happy. Now, this is what the yogis are saying. This is what really perpetuates that cycle of sukha and dukkha and makes you feel like you're riding that wave, because you're always looking outside to fulfill something on the inside. The only thing that can fulfill that thing on the inside is you going there, and you're the one that has to attend to it. So the cycle of sukha and dukkha will perpetuate. They'll just be there, but rather you're down here, or you're in here at the core of your being, blissfully awake to all that is. And at the same time that you might be experiencing sadness, you might ultimately be able to recognize that life is still a gift, even amongst that sadness. I hope that this is clear, that this is really the teaching that of Ananda being at the core of our being. So, Yes, that's what I'm having to share today. Let's come to all fours, hands and knees. And I just want to reiterate that it's not trying to get rid of these highs and lows, that it's recognizing that the highs and the lows are a part of the cycle of being human, a part of our process. And so not trying to control necessarily what's outside of ourselves, but trying to control what's in ourselves. And it starts with controlling our breath. So inhale, arch and look up. Exhale, round. Inhale, arch, look up. Exhale. Inhale, arch, look up. Exhale. Now we see it in our breath that it's part of nature, that all things that expand eventually contract. Inhale, we expand. Exhale, we contract, right? So everything has an equal and opposite. So we can imagine that sukha and dukkha are part of that equal and opposite. Inhale. I don't know if equal and opposite is the right phrase for that. Exhale, just opposite. Everything has an opposite. Inhale, arch. Equally opposite, I suppose. Exhale to downward facing dog. Excuse me as I get my mind together. Take a moment to bend each knee. Press into down dog. Stretch the shoulders long, hips up and back. Inhale, forward plank. Exhale, we lower down, Chaturanga. Warm up the back muscles. Inhale, lift the heart. Exhale, release. Maybe the heart and the hands. Inhale, lift up. Exhale. Heart, hands, and feet. Exhale. All fours, hands and knees. And exhale, downward facing dog. Right leg to the sky. Please bend the knee, open up the hip. Inhale here. Exhale. Straighten the leg. Inhale, square the hip. Step right foot forward. Let's bring the hands on the front thigh. Come up and pause. Pull your feet toward each other and try to press through the right heel from your right glute muscles, from your buttocks. Press down into your right heel like you're going to stand up taller and your hips will lift. Hopefully your buttocks activates as a result. Keeping that pressing through the front heel like you're trying to, as if you're climbing up a step, you push down. Now I'd like you to pull the front rib cage in a little bit. Just warm up the front hamstrings by pressing through the heel and also drag the front heel back isometrically and you'll feel the center of the hamstring activate. Keeping that, take the arms out to the sides, shoulder blades come together. Exhale, bring the hands like you're just gonna hug a ball. Inhale, shoulder blades come together. Exhale, shoulder blades apart. Inhale, retract the scapula. Exhale. Two more. Keep warming up the hamstring, pressing through the heel. Inhale. Exhale. One more. Exhale, hands to the ground. And here, inhale, straighten through the front leg, look forward. Exhale, bow forward. Inhale, bend the front knee. This time, straighten the leg and bow forward.
Inhale. Exhale, straighten and bow. Inhale. Adho Mukha Svanasana, down dog. Forward plank pose. Lower. Inhale, lift the heart. Exhale, release. Inhale, lift the heart, the hands. Exhale. Inhale, heart, hands, feet. Exhale. All fours, hands and knees. Exhale, down dog. Inhale, right leg up. Sorry, left leg, my fault. Bend knee, open up the hip. Hold here, breathe into the left side. Straighten the legs, square the hip. Step forward. Press down, hands to the front thigh. Okay, pause here. I want to get the hamstrings of the front leg active. We're also going to use the quads of the back leg as well. So first the hamstrings, press through your front heel. So your hips will rise as a little bit of a result of activating your buttock muscles. Now pull the front heel back. We're working with the same muscle groups that we worked with last time, activating the buttocks and hamstrings. And really, last time we worked with the quadriceps. So press the back thigh up to the sky. These are the two groups, hamstrings and quads today. Now with the back thigh pressing up to the sky, that's your back quads. Your front heel pressing down, that's your front buttocks. And if you pull your front heel back a little bit, it's your buttocks and hamstrings. So typically when I say buttocks, I usually mean the combination of glutes and hamstrings. And to do that, press down, pull back. Okay, arms out to the sides. Let's do the retraction of the scap that we've been working with. Inhale. Exhale. Protraction. Inhale, retraction, shoulder blades together. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. We see it in the scapula movement, right? That there's an opposite action for, if you bring your shoulder blades together, the opposite action is to bring them apart. So everything in life has these opposites. Inhale. And it also happens in our emotional and mental body, called sukha and dukkha, hands to the ground. Inhale, straighten through the front leg. Exhale, bow. Again, sukha, sweetness, when all of our needs are met. Inhale, bend the front knee. Exhale, straighten and bow. Dukkha, sometimes referring to suffering. Inhale, bend the knee. I use that word cautiously because it's not straighten and bow. Not necessarily physical suffering, but more mental and emotional suffering. Inhale. And according to yogis, step to down dog, please. Exhale. That suffering happens when we're trying to control outside forces. Inhale, forward to plank. Trying to control what we cannot, what is out of our control. Chaturanga. This is the source of our suffering. Inhale, lift the heart. Exhale. Inhale, lift the heart and hands. Exhale. Inhale, heart, hands, feet. Exhale. All fours, hands and knees. Exhale, tuck toes, Adho Mukha Svanasana, down dog. Let's take the right leg to the sky. Inhale. Step forward as you exhale. Place the back knee down, point the foot. We're gonna do the quad exercise from last time. Except this time, hands on the front knee, it'll be significantly more challenging. Hinge your hips forward and then press the top of the back foot down. Make sure you are pointing the back foot. If you're kind of like flex pointing, like your toes are tucked, but you're not pointing your foot, you'll probably get a cramp, a severe one in your foot. So really point the foot and then press through the top of the back foot to inhale, lift the back knee off the ground. This is gonna be the quads activating. And then slow exhale, release. Don't drop, release, okay? And then lean forward, press down through the top of the back foot. That's your quads activating. And exhale, slow release. One more time. Lean forward, press down, quads active. Exhale, release. Hands to the ground. Step back, down dog. Left leg to the sky on the inhale. Step forward. Point the back foot. Hands to the front thigh. Hinge the hips forward, taking the weight off of the back leg, making it easier on your back quads. Now press the top of the back foot down. On the inhale, we rise. Knees straight in the back there. Exhale. Inhale, straighten. Exhale. One more. Exhale. Hands to the ground. Inhale to plank pose. And Chaturanga. Slide the hands wide, fingertips. Inhale, lift the front body, three-part cobra. Exhale, soften. Let the low ribs move forward. Stretch the abdomen and the heart up. Press the low ribs forward. Exhale, release. Inhale, one more time. Exhale, soften. Inhale, press forward with the low back, low ribs. Exhale. All fours, hands and knees. Exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana, down dog. Walk the feet to the front of the yoga mat. Exhale and bow forward. Come to a halfway lift on the inhale. Pause. Feet are hip width or outer hip width apart. Bend the knees slightly and press the backs of the heels out so your outer hip muscles here start to awaken. So you push the hamstrings out, lift up, and keep the hips over the heels. Okay, as you're doing so, suction your quads by pulling the kneecaps up into the hip socket here. That's going to get your quads, one of which is a hip flexor called rectus femoris active. We did this last time. Keeping that quad active, then try to bow. Your hip flexors slash the rectus femoris, which is a quad and a hip flexor. These muscles help you tip the pelvis, lengthening the hamstrings. That tip of the pelvis is really key in gaining access to a number of postures, in particular one we're going towards today. But I'm going to just keep it a little bit of a secret. I'm sure you'll pick up on it pretty quickly. But I like the mystery, the surprise. Okay, hands to the hips. Arch and rise up. Okay. Please bend the knees, move the hips back. We'll find that anterior tilt of the pelvis. So the opposite of this posterior tilt when your tailbone's tucked, kind of like a dog when it's scared in a storm, tucks its tail. You're gonna do the opposite, sticking your buttocks up. With that, lift your belly up. Lift your chest. Okay, now press down through your heels until, when you press down, while in anterior tilt, when you press down, you might start to feel your glute or hamstring buttock connection here starting to active. That's a great thing. So the way that you do that is by not allowing posterior tilt, but keeping the anterior tilt of the pelvis, so keeping the arch of the spine, but then imagining like you're trying to tuck your tail so that the muscles turn on but no movement happens. Okay, now we come into the cactus shape, retracting the scapula. Let's take a breath in. As you exhale, separate your shoulder blades, protracting. Inhale, shoulder blades come together. Exhale, protracting. Let's do a few more. We got this. So dukkha, exhale, happens even in postures like this. Inhale when we feel challenged. When you start to feel the muscles burn, exhale. We want to control it and say like, come out of it, don't do it anymore. Let's do one more. But we know that doesn't make us any stronger. We don't gain by running away necessarily of the situation. Exhale, bow. We gain by figuring out a way through it. Inhale, halfway lift. Oftentimes, tuning into your breath and recognizing that you're the one in control. Exhale, left foot back. Inhale, rise, high lunge. And pause here. Make it a little longer stance today. Firm up the back inner thigh up to the sky. So press the knee up. That's going to be the quads. Stretch your belly like you're climbing up for like a branch. So take your arm and reach it up as high as you can. And then take the other arm, reach it up as high, and turn your chest straight forward. Lift up, lift up, lift up, get tall, and you're gonna feel your back knee starts to bend. Straighten it without losing the lift of the chest, okay? Take a lift of the chest, look up, exhale, hands to the ground. Straighten through the front leg on the inhale, look forward. Exhale and bow. Inhale, bend the front knee. Three-legged dog as you exhale, up and back. Bend the knee, open up the hip as you inhale. Hold as you exhale. Inhale, straighten the leg, square the hip. Step forward again as you exhale. High lunge, rise, inhale. Open to warrior two, Virabhadrasana 2. Let's hold here. Top of the back thigh back slightly. Press your front heel down and drag it towards the back foot so you get your buttocks and hamstrings of the front leg active. Hold here, let's breathe. One of the tools that we learn through yoga is that the power of our breath, especially through the nose, can help calm the mind, reminding us that we are actually in control and that we're choosing to be here. A lot of times you get into a challenging situation and we forget that it was our choice. We forget that it was on purpose, and the challenge overwhelms us. And as a result, we feel that experience of dukkha in the mind. And at this point, it is experience. So experience of dukkha in the mind, that suffering that holds us back, and potentially we start going off in that fight or flight experience. We either run from the experience, we push it, and we over effort it or whatever. Sometimes we just freeze, we go numb. Reverse warrior, inhale. And yoga asks us, hold here as you exhale. Can we stay present, intentionally breathe? And that intentional breath tends to keep us out of that fight or flight response, allowing us to still be cognitive, still be awake, making decisions for ourselves. Release the hands to the ground. Because in fight or flight, we don't actually make any decisions. Inhale, plank. Once we're there, exhale, chaturanga, we're just reactive. Slide the hands wide. Inhale. And reactivity, exhale, is just a chemical, neurological response towards survival. Inhale, lift the belly up. That's why some people get really ugly when they're in that fight or flight. We don't recognize them. Release down. Inhale to all fours. Breathing can certainly help to move back into our nature, our normal self that people know us as, to tap back into the parts of our brain and our system that are associated with our personality. But a lot of times it just takes time. So what we learn through yoga is to catch ourselves before we move into fight, flight, freeze, to become aware as that urge to become reactive starts to rise. And I want to be cautious. I don't mean that we can't get angry, we can't be sad, we can't feel experiences of frustration in the mind or anything you consider to be negative emotion. Actually, you still feel that, but it's not reactive, it's intentional experiencing of life and processing the highs and lows from a place that is awake and aware, which is different than unconsciously reacting, getting into our animalistic self. Lift the heels up. Exhale, hop or step. Halfway lift, inhale. Exhale, bow. Inhale, chair pose.
Chest up, heart up, arms to cactus shape. We're going to continue 5 rounds of this. Inhale. We also want to recognize that fight or flight is actually a good thing. Exhale to open. That it's there to serve our safety of our physical body. We want fight or flight to kick in if we step out into the middle of a street, don't see a car coming. We want our body to react without thought. We don't want to be sitting there thinking, should I move? So that's what fight or flight is great for, but when it starts to play out in the mind and in our emotions, then it becomes a bit of a problem. So we recognize the experience of dukkha coming on. We can't control the outside forces, arms up to the sky. But what we can control is our internal state. And one of the ways that we regulate that is through intentional breath. Inhale, halfway lift, through the nose in particular. Exhale, step right foot back. Inhale, rise, high lunge. Hold here, take a little longer stance today. And then firm up the back inner knee. So quads are active and front heel presses down so front hamstrings are active. Keeping back quads and hamstrings active, let's get long in the sides of the body. So climb your right side up taller. Climb the left side up taller. Climb the right side up taller. Climb the left side up. Now, back thigh firmed up, lift the chest, lift the eyes. Exhale, release hands to the ground. Straighten through the front leg, inhale. Exhale, bow. Inhale, bend the front knee. 3-legged dog as you exhale. Inhale, open the hip, bend the knee. Hold as you exhale. Inhale, straighten. Step forward. High lunge, rise. Open up, warrior two. Move the pelvis back, press the feet down and pull the feet toward each other. So when the challenges of life hit, which is, we have small challenges and big challenges on a daily basis, monthly basis, yearly basis. The suggestion from yogis is start with the breath. Decide that you're going to breathe through your nose and do so intentionally. Then reflect upon this movement of breath within you. Recognize that this is the gift, this is the bliss, that there is energy flowing through us, that we have an opportunity to experience life itself and all of life's experiences within that. The highs and the lows, the sukha and the dukkha, and we can't control the outside forces, but we can control our internal states. We can regulate how our perception by reminding ourselves of the bigger picture. Reverse warrior, inhale. Hold here as you exhale. Inhale. We can control our actions. We can control where we're looking for validation. We can look inward and be self-reflective, hands to the ground. Pivot the back heel up on the inhale, plank pose. Chaturanga. Slide the hands and feet wide. Inhale, lift the front body. Slowly soften the chest. Inhale, pull the heart forward and up. Exhale, release. Come to all fours, hands and knees. And let's come to the outside of your right hip. Left leg comes back behind you. Come to the beach. Let me see what angle we're at. Yeah, so you're at the beach, chilling. Your back foot is wide. Let's move the right shoulder up, back, and around. So that's just gonna rotate the shoulder head to the back of the body and pop your chest forward. You see that both knees are bent, but both feet are turned out. Now the next transition, once my chest is moving forward, is to move the weight from the center of my abdomen up on a diagonal. So I lift my hips up and I move my weight into my feet, and then I use the feet to press down into the feet and press the chest to the sky. Wild thing. The left hand can come behind the head. As you press the head back, it'll start to stretch and lengthen the abdomen a little bit more. Let's take 3 breaths. Keep the hips up. Use your leg strength. 2 more. And release. All right, come to the other side. I always want to caution that we can use these teachings and misinterpret them, right? You could say, well, you could be in an abusive relationship and say, well, I can't control the outside force, so I'm going to stay in this, but what I can control is my mindset. That's not the teaching. The teaching would be you have control over your actions. And so while you can't control the person, you can control whether you're in that relationship. So I just want to acknowledge that you have control over your actions, and what you are, what you're capable of is taking action and inward reflection. You just can't control the person, but you can control what your role is in that person's life, and so on and so forth. I do give that example as a little bit of an extreme, but some people are in that scenario, so I want to just acknowledge that. Shoulder goes up, back, and around. Chest pops forward. Move your weight towards your feet and press down to rise up. Hand to the back of the head. Enjoy one more breath. And release. All right, come back to all fours, hands and knees. And we're going to go back to that posture we did at the end of last class. You're going to take your left foot up. This time you take your right hand to grab the outer edge of the foot. We use the quads of the back leg to kick into the hand. When you kick into the hand, the right shoulder, let it roll back. You can see from this angle that my shoulder rolls towards you, towards that camera angle. I'll show you another angle, but that's essentially, that's probably the best angle you can get. So, right, when the foot kicks back, if my shoulder doesn't move, then that foot kicking doesn't do anything. So first, buttocks and hamstrings have to activate, so knee and hip up to the sky like this, right? Next, quads activate, while the shoulder rolls back into that retraction. So shoulder blade retracts and foot kicks back into the hand. Now lift the chest up. Said a little bit about that anterior tilt. Move your pubic bone back. It'll bend your left elbow a little bit to do so, and you'll be able to kick a little bit taller. Then try to stretch your belly up at the same time. Okay, and slow. You release. Okay. Woo, let's get it going. Next side. Right leg to the sky. Reach back. This is going to give you the other angle. You see, the thing with the chest is the pectoral muscles attached to the shoulder, to the sternum. So you can see that this is an opening of the pectoral muscles to retract the scapula. It's a stretch of the pectorals. So I want to continue that by using my rhomboids, the muscles between the shoulder blades, to retract, to move the shoulder blade towards the spine. Now I go to my buttocks, I kick the heel and knee up to the sky,
And then I follow that with my quadricep activation. I kick into the hand, okay? Now I establish breath. And then I start to tip my pubic bone back a little bit, kick up, and then lift the heart against the pubic bone. So the two are going in opposite directions. Heart lifts, pubic bone goes back. Okay. Woo, yeah. Same actions now in bow, Dhanurasana. Let's come to the belly. All right. Button of the pants always hits me in the wrong spot. Okay, so now you can see from this angle, my shoulders right now, if they roll down, that's pectorals being kind of bullying the shoulder or doing what they're supposed to do, however we want to look at it. They're pulling the shoulders forward, but the rhomboids doing what they're supposed to do is pulling the shoulders back. So we want to do that, pull the shoulders back in this position. So maybe it might just be useful to watch the first round. You see, I'm going to grab the feet. I like to grab the outsides first and then walk over the toes so the thumbs face up so that you don't do this. A lot of people do this. They rotate in like this and the shoulder goes like this. It's very awkward. Can you see the difference between the two shoulders? No, you can't. Now you can see the difference, right? This is called internally rotating the arm. This is called externally rotate the arm. So we want to externally rotate the arms. If you can't figure that out, just grab the outer edges of the feet like this. That's enough. Okay, so then use your buttocks and hamstrings. Watch me for a moment. See how I'm using my buttocks and hamstrings here, and then the quads, okay? Then the back muscles. So there's a number of ways we can go about this. Before coming all the way up, let's try just the buttock and hamstrings. So lift your knees up off the ground and pubic bone slides back. Then use your quads, kick your feet back. Then lift your chest. Exhale, release. Okay, now another way of going about it, might be more suitable for you, is roll your shoulders back. And as you inhale, lift the chest and kick your feet back. Now focus on the knees lifting. And release. Show another angle. So by the way, I internally rotate the thighs as I'm kicking up. So you'll see that the feet are a little bit wider than the knees when doing this. And that's to get a little more range out of the hip joint. Makes it harder to a degree to, I would say initially, but eventually it gets easier as a result. Harder because you have to retrain your muscles because your glutes will automatically turn your legs out, which means your feet will be closer together. And we need our glutes. But if you turn your legs in, your glutes still working, but they're working against your TFL, your hip flexor there. So it makes it a bit harder. All right, let's try again. Here we go. So one tip, by the way, so you see how I'm here? I try to pull my belly long first and then place my ribs down so I'm already in decompression of the spine. Let's grab the feet. I like to lift the knees up these days, but many methods. So I inhale, kick the legs up to the sky, and let my pubic bone kind of slide back. Then lift the heart up. And then I kick the feet back and up. And then release. I don't know if many of you have practiced with me before, so you know this, but if you haven't practiced with me before, with back bends, I never go and hold to my fullest extent. It always pulse with the breath. So the inhales I expand, the exhales I soften. The inhales I expand, and the exhales I soften. And that's because you can't be in the sympathetic nervous system. You can't be like fighting the posture and trying to force a back bend. It won't work because that will contract the front muscles. It'll put you in that fight or flight state, or at least ready for fight or flight. And the abdominals will contract, the hip flexors will contract, and it'll hold you back. So there has to be like this feeling of blissfulness inside that you are connected to, where you could think about a lot of tricks to back bends. Thinking about something that you're grateful for, trying to, you can even use imagery like a time when you're just totally serene, blissful, calm, just enjoying life, the sweetness, the sukha. So tapping in obviously to the core of bliss is something I suggest, but if that seems like a foreign concept and not possible, then it doesn't work. Just think of how you want to feel. How do you want to feel? And go to that experience of how you want to feel in your mind, and then let the body reflect that. So last round. Here we go. I'm going to be quiet. Just ask yourself how you want to feel. And then ride the breath. Go ahead. Don't go to your fullest. All right, and release. Okay. Come to all fours. We're going to continue that practice. The next practice, I have more. There's more to it. Come to down dog and try to maintain an arch in your low back as you do so you don't lose the back bend you just gained. Even if it means bending the knees, press the hips up and back. Let's place the right shin across the mat. You can stay lifted today if you'd like, or you can bow forward or to the left. And take a moment to shout out a little bit of gratitude to Second Wind Health for sponsoring these immersions. Your support, your artistry, and your quality, to me, means a lot. Not to mention that I get to practice on a beautiful yoga mat. Step back to down dog and switch sides. Left shin across the mat. And bow to the right. I should mention that Second Wind is privately owned. It's not corporate. Owned by a wonderful human being. His name is Vince. And he had this idea to really bring art and artistry to yoga mats. I met him a few years back at Wanderlust and just walked right up to his booth because I was like, wow, this is different. These mats are beautiful. And we connected there and stayed in touch. He supported the chromatic training by sending us a bunch of blocks. And we've developed a relationship ever since, so I'm just grateful for his support and happy to be supporting him. All right, come on up. All right, find your seated position of choice. Block under the hips or a blanket under the pelvis too, if you're cross-legged. Just in case any of you were not here for the last class, we're doing Nadi Shodhana. Nadi Shodhana is you take your 2 fingers and you fold them into your palm. One thumb covers the nostril, fingers cover the other nostril. We breathe in to start through the left. We cover the nostril, breathe out through the right. We breathe in through the right, out through the left, in through the left, out through the right, in through the right, out through the left. Okay. So, first, palms in the lap, and simply adjust your posture so that we're riding the wave of our yoga practice in our body, that the low back is hopefully in a more arched position, which can really help us to sit more comfortably, and that physical posture, or asana as is the name for the seat that we take. If we can bring what we've practiced in asana into our seated position for meditation, and the goal there is to be able to sit for longer periods of time more comfortably. That said, if you feel uncomfortable, make sure that you change up your position. Simply just don't put a lot of thought or decision into it. Just change your position, or sit up on a chair. It's okay to change the physical body. The practice of meditation is not to ignore, but to acknowledge what is. So it's not to ignore the body and any sort of discomfort, but to acknowledge the discomfort, make a shift, and then come right back to presence. So the low back in an arched position, the upper back full. Now we don't fully retract the scapula here the way that we would in a back bend, just a little opening of the front body. So move the shoulders slightly up and ever so slightly back, and you'll feel that your shoulder blades can kind of rest down on your rib cage and the back side. But we don't want to feel any sort of pinching behind the heart. I want to keep the back of the heart full with breath. And the shoulders aren't pulling down, they're resting down. So when you inhale, naturally the shoulders will rise a little bit. Let that happen. And bring the head back over the pelvis. And take the mudra for Nadi Shodhana. That means fold the index and middle finger into your palm. Today we'll do another tradition here, and that is, let's take a breath in together through both nostrils. Now you'll close the right nostril, exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Close the opposite nostril, exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Exhale through the left. Release the hand, inhale through both nostrils. Exhale it out. Sit with the experience in the mind
what you feel as a result of one round of Nadi Shodhana. You can keep the gentle Ujjayi breath flowing through your system. Feel the vibration of your body. Let's take a second round of Nadi Shodhana. So inhale through both nostrils. The thumb covers the right as you exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Exhale through the left. Release the hand. Inhale through both nostrils. This time we're going to add a kumbhaka, the suspension. Inhale all the way. Suspend for a count of 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale. At the bottom, we'll suspend again for the count of 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. Hold for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale. Hold for 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. Hold for 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale. Four, 3, 2, 1. Inhale completely. Last round of Nadi Shodhana. We take the right thumb to the nose, right nose. Exhale through the left. This time we're going to add kumbhaka. 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale through the left. Retention for 4, 3, 2, 1. Out through the right. 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale through the right. Four, 3, 2, 1. Out through the left. Continue this pattern of breath retention, the top and the bottom. you're done, last exhale through the left side. Hold for 4. And inhale through both nostrils. Let's do another breath. This time we'll hold at the top. Inhale. Hold the comfortable amount of time, so long as it feels enjoyable. And after you're done holding, just exhale out. You always have the breath as a tool to come back to. Acknowledge where you are right now and what you are experiencing. If you already feel like you're in that state of constant, ever-flowing, ever-present bliss, where the world is still on the inside, then you can stay right there and tune out my voice. Just bathe in the blissful experience at the core of your being. And if you feel the mind is experiencing the highs and the lows, which it normally does, this is called the vrittis, the rise and the fall of thoughts, thought forms. Some of them are sukha, sweet, and some of them are dukkha, suffering. This is normal. Just dive below the surface using Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya to anchor the mind. Om Namah Shivaya. Give it something recursive, repetitive. Give it a cycle to organize around. The mantra is like the pull of a river. Eventually the thought forms fall right into the pull of the mantra, and we can ride that momentum of the mantra inward. Now, if you're already, again, in the experience where all is still and blissful, serene, ananda bliss, then there is no need for the mantra, as it will just pull you out of that experience. Ananda is deeper than the mantra. The mantra is on the level of the mind. Only use it to go inward. Om Namah Shivaya. I'm going to go silent now so we can all monitor our own experience. If it's a struggle, you could always go back to breathing. It's in the kumbhak where you'll find, in that little retention, you'll find that stillness. Stretch it through the whole experience of physical, mental, emotional. And then that will allow you to dive deep into the deeper layers of our existence. Chit Ananda, bliss, consciousness. Use the mantra is necessary for you as I go silent now. connect to your breath. If you're taking Shavasana, then please press pause on the video and make your way into Shavasana, and we will see you later. Everyone else, start to bring a little life to the fingers and toes. You can stretch the arms. Rub the palms together. Place the hands over the eyes and breathe into your hands, breathe into your eyes. Hands over the heart. Breathe in. Hands over the belly. Your legs a little awakening. Some massage of the calves. Get to the feet. Place the palms together. And we take a moment to honor each other with gratitude for these practices that have been passed down to us, and for the opportunity to share them with one another here in this community, in this group. Thank you all so very much for your dedication, not only to serving your well-being in the physical body, but also for your efforts to connect to the mind, create a space for it to exist, to be heard, to be seen, and to allow it to process. And for the energy, the breath, this pulse of prana, life force that runs through us, that we practice pranayama for, and for the deepest layers of our core, shunya, the void, and chit, which is this perfect harmony of awareness and bliss, blissful awareness. May we remind ourselves that amongst the highs and the lows, the sukha and the dukkha, that at the core of us exists chit ananda, awareness and bliss in perfect harmony. Thank you all so very much. Namaste. All right, everybody. Have a blessed day. Enjoy yourselves. Thanks for being in the chat. And a quick reminder that the April immersion is now available, and so hope to have you in that. And if you have ideas for the names, please put it in the Facebook group.